Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. How are you all doing? And welcome to another Cat Stream. I am the Common Sense Guy, or as most of you know now, I'm Jason. How are you all doing? I'm with my lovely co-host today, Mr. Ogre. I believe Mr. Ogre has somebody or something to show you when he's ready.
Oh yeah, I might as well give her a little show here, and it's good. It's good to be here with you, Mr. Blackmore. Always a pleasure to be on the stream with you. I think what you're doing is not only a noble thing, but it's a very brave thing. But officially tomorrow, and there's a very small chance that I'll get a better name, but officially tomorrow, this bird will be named Pi, as in Pi R Square. Thank you so much, everybody, for giving your suggestions. Conscious Caracal, I believe Jennings. There was a lot of people that gave me suggestions. The one that gave me that is Memes of Destruction. It really goes back to her grandfather, 3, and that's why. So thank you, everybody that's been thinking about this bird. I'm not going to say praying. I know if you prayed or not, that's up to you. But I do believe that human thought and the collective conscious of people, as in the Jungian way of thinking, is so powerful. And so to everyone out there that sent good vibes, that sent good karma, that took the time to think about this helpless little bird, Pi, thanks you very much, and so do I.
And now that my heart has been melted by another animal other than my missus, though if she ever hears that, I'm going to get shot. But now that my heart's actually been melted, I think that we should go on to another animal, I suppose, unless we have any other talking or any other talking points at all. If you want,
no, I don't think so. Common sense. I'm looking at the lineup that you have here, and I think it's so packed full that the sooner we get on, the better.
Okay, well, I've just got one tiny little bit of information that I want to relay with everybody, and that is we've already had a donation. I won't say who from, but we've already had a donation for the Liberal Britain Party. We've had quite a decent amount actually for that. So we're not too far away. Yeah, we're not too far away from our actual goal of making it a registered party now. So if and when people want to donate, please donate to the Common Sense Guys PayPal, which will be linked in the description box below. But that's only if you want to and only if you believe in the ideas that we're pushing for. But apart from that, thank you very much, guys, and thank you very much for actually believing in me and actually listening to what I've got to say.
LBP for life.
Yes.
LBP for life.
Yes. I'm gonna probably get that tattoo changed. Instead of it England underneath, I'm gonna have another little bit there with the LBP for it on the end of it. I don't know if everybody can see it, just a little bit higher. And just about there, I'm going to get that added on to LBP.
That would be beautiful. And when you register as a party, I will also be getting the flag of King George added to a mural that's on my back, and I will show that on air when it happens. I will be adding the flag of King George, the red cross on a white background. And I will have the flag tattered at the end. And for those of you that follow me on Twitter, you'll notice that I often tweet out an image of the King George flag that's tattered and flying, and it says, tattered but never torn. And I believe that. I believe in Great Britain, and I believe in my brother Jason Blackmore, and you should too.
Yep. I can't say any more than that. I thank you everybody for actually been listening to what I've been saying on the LBB party. But this is not an LBB party stream, though it is going to be broadcasted on there as well, but it's not a stream for LBB. This is a stream for the Common Sense Guy and for the Yoga. So absolutely take the mickey out of Sadiq Khan and the leftists that have been protesting Trump for some particular reasons, and we're not 100% sure why. I suppose with that being said, I should really go on to the actual idea of the hypocrisy of the left and the reasons why the left sometimes do the things that they do. Let's listen to Sadiq Khan now. Let's find out the reasons why he's doing what he wants to do, shall we?
No sound, Common Sense.
Hang on just a second then. Hang on just a second. Issues. We have issues.
Okay, well, we can talk for a second. I should have done this at the beginning. Let me set up my my thingy here, and that way I know I can broadcast sound if you continue to have issues. Set up voice meter right now.
Can we hear that now?
Yes, here we go.
No worries. It's around about 1 minute 20 seconds.
And we should. I will have sound if you don't. Common sense. Anytime you want to send me that link, I'll pop it up.
Yeah, it's 1 minute 20 seconds on the actual link. I will. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's in the side chat, mate. It's in the side chat. There you go.
1 minute 27 seconds.
Around about that, yeah. That should do.
Let's see. Hopefully, I'll have sound now. We will find out. Oh, let me get this off. Sorry, folks. We're sorry. Hey, man, two guys running this show. I'm not really sorry. All I'm telling you is that technical stuff happens from time to time. And thank you for bearing with us. So here we go.
This to be flying at Parliament. So the images that will go around the world from Trump's visit, which is a very important visit for this country. As we come through Brexit, we are going to need a good trade deal with America. He has signaled that he's prepared to give us one, and that the image that will go around the world, we know, is going to be him in a nappy as a baby. All right, it's all very funny.
It's ridiculous.
All very funny.
It doesn't have to be the image.
Fine.
President Trump.
Let me put this question. Let me ask you a question. If this president was Barack Obama, right, and someone came to you with a crowd-funded plan because they didn't agree with his drone strike policy, for example, perfectly legitimate way to criticize Obama, and they wanted to fly a giant 20-foot black baby of Obama topless in a nappy, would you have endorsed that?
So let me answer that directly. So the answer is it peaceful and is it safe? It's not for me to be the censor.
You would have done.
It's not for me to be the censor. If it's peaceful,
so you would have endorsed a giant black baby of Obama, mocking him.
It's a hypothetical case.
Well, give me a yes or no.
If it's peaceful and it's safe, yes.
Okay. Would you have endorsed an image of you depicting you, for argument's sake, as a pig, which would be very offensive to Muslims? Would you have endorsed that?
If it's peaceful and if it's safe, yes.
Really? So you wouldn't mind if there's a giant 20-foot caricature of you as a pig flying over the Houses of Parliament, which is the center of our democratic power in this country, you would endorse that?
If it's peaceful and if it's safe. Look, I can't be the censor. It's not for me to decide what's in good taste or bad taste. So this weekend,
That's fine. That's fine. The reason why I played you that, or why Yoga has played you that, is because of a particular story. So obviously, as you've all just witnessed and just heard, this is the fact of Sadiq Khan saying that he wouldn't be bothered if there was a 20-foot balloon of him as a pig in the middle of Trafalgar Square or Westminster. Right? So he wouldn't be bothered. He wouldn't be bothered about it at all.
Of course not.
So when we have a Tory MP that apologizes for a tweet of Sadiq Khan image with a pig balloon.
Oh, he don't mind. He's not bothered. Common sense, right? He's not bothered.
He's not bothered at all. He's not bothered at all. So London Mayor calls for Conservatives to take action over Michael Fabricant, or whatever his name is. But that person there looks like a really English version of Donald Trump.
He does. He does. At least the hair, man.
Yeah, he needs to be a bit more orange. He needs to be a bit more orange. But this is a story of basically the hypocrisy of what you say to people in front, and then when you're behind closed doors, when you don't think that many people are going to be watching and listening, then you have this complete and utter absurd hypocrisy that people don't want to even talk about it. So you have the Conservative MP, Frishikant, or whatever his name is. I can't be bothered to learn his pronunciation because he's a backbencher. I don't really care. It's the story that I care about. Has apologized for tweeting a cartoon image. Remember, this is not an actual image. It's a cartoon that's been drawn of Sadiq Khan being mounted by an inflatable pig after he was accused of Islamophobia. Notice that. That's the reason why we played the video at the beginning, to show you that, remember, he's not bothered. As long as it's peaceful. As long as it's peaceful. Nobody got hurt in a cartoon, did they? Nobody got hurt in a cartoon.
Nope. No hurt. Nope. No hurt. No hurt. No violence. No hurt.
Exactly. So by his own definitions, and this should be okay. This should be fine. Absolutely fine. But Khan, the mayor of London, called on the Tories to take action against the backbencher. And the Labour MP, Wes Streeting, said he had written to the Conservative Chief Whip, Julian Smith, asking what will be done. Even though he said on national television, that he would be absolutely fine with a 20-foot fucking balloon. But can't do with a cartoon on Twitter.
Jason, what if the answer was the same thing that's going to be done about the funny but less funny? I would say both of these things are hilarious to me. The big baby Trump is bloody hilarious, okay? But so is the pig, and so is that. In fact, I would say it's even funnier. So why is the question what will be done? How about the answer nothing? And since I have been on this Jungian kick for the last couple 3 streams, I'm going to stay on it and say that Sadiq Khan is the archetypal coward. He is the archetypal hypocrite. He is the nadir of the left. He is the death cry of the left. And my God, if we can't come together as Britons and Americans, the inventors, ye Britons, of satire, the inventors of mocking your leaders, the King George being ridden by the House of Lords as a big fat, everybody's seen the old satire. This is the end. And my answer to you, Mr. Khan, and I'll let Common Sense, who has much more credence because he is a Briton, and you better watch out. He might have your job in 10 years, Khan.
I would never go to be mayor of London. London can go away.
Hyperbole. But I will say this as a Yank. My answer to you, what will be done? Nothing. Buck up, little soldier.
It gets even better, believe it or not. It gets even better. Saadi Warsi, the party's former chairwoman, said Fabricant's actions showed the extent of Islamophobia within the Conservatives. So even though we'll get to the actual how he's tried to frame it as satire, cartoon. But just listen to that. This is now being used as a propaganda piece against the right wing, and I use inverted air quotes there, to be able to say that the right wing is Islamophobic and everything that they do is completely and utter racist, even though that I showed the video at the beginning of him saying it would be absolutely fine as long as it's peaceful. But him and the rest of the left are going out of their minds for a cartoon, but yet think it's purposely okay for somebody to throw up a 20-foot balloon, and yet that's okay. But drawing a cartoon and posting it on Twitter, no, that's the end of the world. That's the extent of the hypocrisy the left's getting into. But I just would like to read the next 2 paragraphs, which I think are the most important. The tweet, quickly deleted by Fabricant, referred to the Trump baby protest balloon being flown over Westminster, which Khan authorised and the Lichfield MP has criticised. The images showed a grinning Donald Trump. So picture this. This is the idea of the cartoon. The images showed a grinning Donald Trump. In the background, a balloon pig mounting a balloon with Khan's face on it, with the words, "Breaking news, Trump defeats Sadiq Khan in balloon wars." That is one of the most obvious satires that I've ever fucking seen.
And it's funny.
Exactly. It is actually funny. It really bloody is. But yet, it's a case that the left say one thing and they do something completely different. It's absolutely amazing on that to me. That they would even go down that road. That they would say on national telly that this is a case that they are happy to be able to just put up a balloon and you criticise it. It's like, no, freedom of speech, freedom of speech, as long as it's peaceful. As long as it's peaceful, it's fine. Not a problem. Everybody's okay. As soon as you get a cartoon that's completely and utterly saying, no, doesn't matter. It's horrible. You're horrible, apparently.
Yes. And wow, Ben, I was going to type this and I'm just going to say it. You type fast. And we appreciate everybody's comments. We would just ask that if you feel like you're
No, don't even mention it. Just let him carry on. I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. The thing is, he's talking about communistic and socialistic points of view, but not actually listening to what's going on.
Nah, I'm sorry I mentioned it. So we'll carry on. We would just ask everyone, not Ben, other than Ben, to keep spamming to a minimum and respect the people in chat. If you don't, nothing we're going to do about it because we believe in free speech.
Exactly, my friend, exactly. So, with that being said, what about the actual hypocrisy of the left? Because otherwise, we would be being hypocrites ourselves by saying that we're going to censor somebody when we're talking about freedom of speech. So, with that being said, why is it okay for somebody to be able to say that I would agree with this if it's completely and utterly free speech, free protest, being able to get there at all? But yeah, as soon as it's a cartoon, why is it okay for one person to do it, and why is it bad for the other person to do it? What would actually be those reasons?
Well, common sense, it's not as simple as this, but in my mind, it's as simple as this. The left can't meme. Now, what do I mean by that? Do I mean that they can't shoot out memes that are funny? Why, I've seen memes from the left that I laughed at. But the reason the left can't meme is because they cut their leg off, Jason. They stand there, they're sat there saying this. Why? We can make fun of you. We can say that there's blood on your hands and make memes that really aren't even funny about how if you own a gun, I'm not going to whip it out. I've already said I'm not going to, but there's my firearm sits right here because it defends me and where I sit. My firearm sits. I live out in the country. Why? There's blood on my hands. When you sit there and you put yourself in this hypocritical situation, common sense, and I'm sorry, I'll probably bounce back and forth. You'll always be common sense to me in some small way. But when we sit here and we sat here and we put ourselves in that position, Jason, where are we left to, where can we stand? We can't be funny anymore. We have no leg. We have sawed our own leg off. And by we, I mean our brothers and sisters on the far left. They have made it to where they can't meme. Their memes have become dreams. There's nothing but, oh, we did this and it's supposed to be funny and you should laugh, but you have countered that with more comedy and we can't laugh. We have to be offended by that. Man, I'm not going to go off track, but when I watched the Strzok testimony yesterday in front of Congress, you see the hypocrisy on the left in full swing. That you can't be sat there and say comedy's okay as long as we think it's funny. It's no longer comedy. And to quote my beloved brother, the Britisher, no one needs think it's funny for it to be protected as comedy. No one, not even the creator of said comedy, needs think it's funny for that thing to be protected. That's why, comments. I hope that was an answer.
That was fine.
The reason why is because they don't have a leg to stand on. They've sawed leg off.
Yes, they sawed their leg off and actually put salt onto the wounds, if we're going to use that as an analogy. It's a case of, you can't say on national television, and I'm going to keep on repeating this point because it's a point that needs to be actually spoken about. The fact is that you're going to say that it's okay, literally, for your side to do it. But when the opposite side, and believe me, this is solely based on ideology, rather than it being somebody of evilness or because of their conservatives and they're evil, this is solely based on ideology. You have a different ideology to me. You have a different religion to me. You play different football to me. You play different sports to me. That's literally all this is. This is a case of my ideology is correct, your ideology is wrong, and no matter what I do is right, and no matter what you do is wrong. Now, this is the actual point of the reason why I did this at the beginning, to show you that there is also a link in the description box below to be able to, so you can go and watch the full video in its context. So I'm not taking him out of context at all. This is him talking about the Trump baby balloon. So it's a case of he's saying that it's okay as long as it's peaceful. Where now it's not peaceful for a cartoon to be drawn of Sadiq Khan in the same way as he has said that it would be okay for him to do it. But, you know, that's the actual hypocrisy of the left. Would you be able to, Mr. Ogre, do the third bit? If you can't do the third one, I will quickly link it in the description, in the side chat.
You need, we're going to need audio on this?
We are going to need audio on it, but it's a Twitter post, unfortunately. So it's a case of just don't blow it up. Just it's the case of we might need to pause it every now and again for what he actually says.
I will be listening to you for when you need to pause.
No problem.
Our message today is our quarrel is not with the American people. Our quarrel is with the American president and his values.
So hopefully everybody in the chat actually heard what he's actually said. The reason why he's protesting. Sorry, there's an echo. The reason why Ed Miliband is saying that he is there protesting with the protesters, which, believe it or not, really no politician should be out actually protesting. They should actually be out trying to voice their opinions in either Congress or Parliament, not by protesting and going against the actual people that they might actually, have to deal with in the future. But with that being said, he actually states that his problem is not with the American people, it's with the American president. They are the same. The reason why they are the same is because not by our definition of a majority, and we are a democracy, but it is by their definition of a majority, which is by the College Council, which is a case of making sure that big, massive states don't have all of their votes counted, and the little states have the same representative of the big states. So technically, it was by a majority that was voted for Trump. So where do you go there? Are you attacking the American people by attacking the president? Would you be attacking the British people if you attacked the Queen? Would you be attacking the British people if you attacked the Houses of Parliament? I thought that they were the one and the same. Or is that not to do with statehood?
The American president and his values, his racism, his misogyny, his embrace of dictatorships, his contempt for democracy. And it's very important that we say that those...
Yes, his embrace of dictatorships. You mean trying to get peace talks with somebody that has never been able to get peace talks, otherwise leaving a whole country to be completely and utterly oppressed. And by that, we mean North Korea. So let's have a look at England and a couple of other countries that have gone into, places like Qatar, that have gone into Saudi Arabia, that have gone into Egypt, that, believe it or not, still have slavery in them. But yet, we still deal with them on a daily basis. We still have the idea of doing a sovereign dictatorship, which is no similar to a dictatorship, because, they're kings, but dictators are voted in, apparently. They're not similar at all. So, yes, we've never dealt with anybody that's a dictator or anything else like that at all, have we? And the simple fact that people go, oh, he's misogynistic, he's racist, yeah. And okay, well, so is Obama, so is Bill Clinton. What's your point? Just because Trump's doing it, you want to pull him up on it. Again, down to ideology, not down to the actual processes that are being made.
Very important that we say that those values can't be allowed to stand, can't be allowed to be normalized, can't be allowed to be legitimated. And I think the thousands of people here...
Nobody wants these values to be legitimized. Nobody wants these values to be part of the moral lexicon. Nobody wants that. But you keep on trying to push this idea because Trump wants immigration to be controlled to a degree, because he wants to make sure that his borders are strong and secure, to make sure that he has a hard grasp on crime, to make sure that he's able to give more tax to the poor people, to make sure that he's able to help people. But, he's Donald Trump. He's the alt-right member. He's bad, even though he's already done more for the country than what Obama has done in 8 years. But, I'm white, so I don't have a fucking clue what I'm talking about.
Are speaking for millions of people across Britain.
Today is obviously a very good opportunity to take Donald Trump to task. Theresa May, I'm talking about here. Will she do that?
Well, look, I don't think she can go the full love, actually, but she should go kind of some of the way. He has trampled all over her. Weakness is something he just tramples over. Strength is the only thing he respects. I hope she stands up to him at her press conference.
We've heard
the thing is, we know from Theresa May's back history that she's going to let everybody walk all over her. She always has done. She lets the EU walk all over her. In fact, she's capitulated on the Chequers deal so harshly and so fully that it's a case of Donald Trump has actually said, which we'll get into later, that he would rather deal with the EU than deal with us because we would be part of the EU. And I mean, that is Britain. That in itself says everything. But the reporter makes an extremely good point. Should Theresa May and other MPs hold Donald Trump to task? If they believe in the stuff that they are saying, yes. But do you know what they won't do? They won't confront him head on because they have no evidence for it. And if they were to confront him head on, he would actually win. Donald Trump would actually win because they have no evidence on it. That's the reason why he won his election, the US election, because they had no evidence on him. Do you know who they did have evidence on? The Democrats. Amazingly. Wonder why that was.
We've heard that the interview that he done with The Sun, he's now actually calling fake news. So your thoughts on that?
Well, look, the guy's a liar. I mean, the guy's a liar who just makes things up. And when he gets caught out, he just lies even more. The problem is with Theresa May is that right from the beginning, she has embraced him, thinking it will do us some favors. It's done us no favors at all because the guy doesn't respect weakness. The only thing he respects is strength and standing up to him and asserting our values.
Stop, please, Oga. Yes, he absolutely respects somebody that can stand up and fight for their country's positions rather than capitulating to other countries' positions. Yeah, there might be some sort of form of mutual respect that goes on there. You know how one person would look at another person and go, yeah, he's not bad or she's not bad. If anybody's played any sports and you played somebody that's really hard or a really good team and you've either lost or drawn, but it's really, really close, you always go and have a drink with that team afterwards and you talk really good with them and you enjoy their company. Not because you're trying to buddy up to them, but because you respected them that they are better than you. That does not mean that that's always going to happen. It just means that at that point in time, they were better than you. But the thing is, that team will always remember you because you were able to respect them. It's about respect. Sorry, sir.
Just very quickly, there's a difference between lying, which I watched this a couple times a day, the presser, and saying that, well, you're saying what I said, but you're not going to the conclusion of what I said. And I have to say that Trump misdirected in that. Yes, he did. He's very good at that. He's very good at misdirection. But let's remember that misdirection is a sort of a lie. It's the lie that the magician tells you. It's the lie that the master manipulator, master deal maker, whatever you want to call it, tells you. And in this case, to say that Donald Trump lied in this situation, common sense, is a great stretch of the actual truth. He didn't lie. He just said that you're saying this, but you're not saying the other things I said. It would be like me saying, well, common sense guy, he needs some work and he's a diamond in the rough. He's going to be a really good politician, but now there's things that he has to work on. And I believe that in the end, he's going to be a great politician. It's taking what I just said there and leaving off the end. It's saying, well, Ogre said that common sense guy is not going to be, not a good politician. He's a diamond in the rough. No, I didn't say that. I said that right now he's just starting. And I'm sorry to use you for example, mate, but it's good to put the word out. And so look, he's just starting and he will be a great politician. And this is the quote unquote lie that Donald Trump told in this situation. I want to point out common sense and I will be quiet again and let you're doing. So you're on such a roll. I don't want to mess this up. This man is lying to our face. This tall, dark-haired gentleman here. He's lying to our face.
Yeah, Mr. Edwin Miliband would do that quite often. There's a reason why he was leader of the Labour Party, and the reason why Labour don't want him to the point where that he's actually not even part of the Labour Party anymore. I'm not sure if he's a Lord. I'm not 100% sure. I know he spoke recently in the Lords, but I'm not sure if he's got a peership. And yes, that's one of our lords speaking about trade deals with a person that wants to actually make peace with a dictator. Yet when somebody like Jeremy Corbyn would come out and say, let's make peace, not war, the left go, oh, he's such a dreaming boy. But when somebody like Donald Trump comes out and goes, yeah, I'm going to make peace with this person, he's only doing it because he absolutely respects him and that's what he wants to do to America. Hypocrisy. Fucking lunacy. Sorry to swear, but bloody hell.
A bit more?
Yes, I've taken him to task, a bit values.
Sorry, the time that fucking Ed Miliband will take anybody to task will be the day that I lick my own foot.
He being the Prime Minister? Absolutely. Because look at what Chancellor Merkel has done. From the beginning, she asserted a set of values which were not Donald Trump's values, and she has basically supped with a very long spoon. And that is the way you've got to behave with Donald Trump.
This is obviously not an anti-America march. This is an anti-Donald Trump march. How do you think this is being perceived in the United States?
Look, that's for the American people to say, but I think what's very important, I'm somebody who loves America. I've spent time in America, but, this is not a quarrel with the American people. We welcome Americans here.
He doesn't have a quarrel with the American people. He just has a quarrel with the fact that the American people voted in somebody he disagrees with. That's who he has a quarrel with. The fact that the American people, in his opinion, voted wrong.
We like traveling to America. It's the American president whose values we object to.
Was he right to intervene on Brexit, do you think?
Was he right? Absolutely not. I mean, look, enough problems.
The way that fucking, sorry to swear again, but the way that the press just reported on that, he did not interject on Brexit. He was asked about his own trade deal between the UK and America. And the thing is, he said that the actual deal itself will be dead, or it will be killed off, because of the way that May has done the deal between the EU. He was asked on it. It wasn't a case that he just intervened on it. He was preempted. He was asked on it. But, facts, they don't really give a shit about the way that you feel.
Look, he's got enough problems in America, he should stick to those. And frankly, if Theresa May had gone to America and started shouting the odds about his policies, he'd have gone bananas. And so...
The way the left tried to portray the fact that Donald Trump, when shouting the odds, he was shouting and screaming, he was angry. No, he was asked a question. He said that the way that Brexit has been done, he would not have done it that way, and he might as well deal with the EU. He wasn't shouting and screaming. He was standing right next to Theresa May, and he was talking about something that he was actually asked about. But, the left, let's grandize everything to make a show for everybody.
So I'm afraid it's just yet another example of him destabilizing democracies. That seems to be his modus operandi.
And just lastly...
Stop again, sorry. Yes, that is his modus operandi, is to stop democracy. Yes. The idea that you are protesting a democratically elected leader of the free world because you disagree on what you perceive as different policies. But, Donald Trump is the one who's stopping democracy. He's the one who's treading on the little guys. He's the one who's costing London £40 million on being able to make sure that this place is actually secure for the protesters. Donald Trump's doing that, isn't he? Nothing to do with you pushing an ideology to the other people in the protest, is there? Otherwise, where else would you be in the protest?
His modus operandi.
And just lastly, many people here concerned about issues around human rights. Do you reckon that will be tabled with him today?
Well, I think it should be. But I think what's important about this demonstration is it crosses parties. This is not owned by one political party. I think this demonstration speaks for people right across the political spectrum. Millions of people.
This protest does not speak across multiple ideologies. This is the ideologies that is coming from the left. This is the ideologies of people that are slightly left of centre. These are the ideologies that are being perpetuated by yourselves. This is nothing to do with a mutual anger towards Trump. After all, we will go on to specific data polls later on to be able to prove the fact that everything that Sky says isn't completely and utterly true. And everything that this guy, Mr. Ed Miliband, is saying, the one that pushed his brother underneath a bus, basically, so he could become leader of the Labour Party, he's the one who's coming out and saying, yes, Donald Trump is destroying democracy. Yes, Donald Trump is the one that's doing all of this. But, yeah, who's really the ones that are actually stifling the process of democracy? Who are really wasting the actual time and money of the British people? Is it Donald Trump from trying to come over and sort out a trade deal as we're going to leave the EU? Or is it the facts of people like him and people on the left that are protesting a democratically elected leader on the idea of virtue signaling about virtue signaling? I can't make that any more clearer than what I already have done. This is a case of people trying to claim that they're for democracy. And as we showed with Sadiq Khan, if it's a case of one person saying it for themselves, then it's okay. It doesn't matter as long as those people agree with me. But as soon as they don't agree with me and they're on opposite side, you're an Islamophobic, you're a racist, you're a misogynist. One problem to that, prove it. Because if you could prove any of that towards Donald Trump, he wouldn't be president. So show me some evidence, just for a change.
Political spectrum, millions of people across our country who are saying, we don't like Donald Trump, we don't like his values.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from an American on what he feels about that hullabaloo and absolute shite.
Well, I thought it was very interesting when when asked if Donald Trump was ready to backpedal on his ideas that immigration has not been a great thing for Europe in the presser with Prime Minister May. He unabashedly said no, and he said just look at it. Anybody can look at it. Look at the no-go zones in France. Look at the no-go zones in Belgium. Look at Sweden, where they have whole cities where they have shut down police stations. Why? Well, because of migrants. They call them migrants. They call them oh man, I can't even go there. Yes, common sense. I can't even hardly go there because to call them refugees, we already know the definition. They call them things they are not.
We do know the definitions, but yes, they are called migrants in their country that try to take over police stations. I believe you were going.
And then when the perfect opportunity is presented to your prime minister to do something other than run, yell, and tell, which, if I remember correctly, was her advice to you brave Britons if you saw someone trying to blow up your country, that instead of, I thought she may take another tact. I thought she may show some bollocks, show some British fortitude. And she just, no. In the end, you could see her face. She wanted to tell the truth. She wanted to say, well, yes, look at Telford. Well, yes, look at the 30-odd grooming gangs. Look at what is going on in our country. Look at the acid attacks. Look at the people pretending to be police on motorbikes and pulling people over and robbing them. Who are these people? What culture do they come from? They come from the culture. Here's a shot. They come from the culture that says it's okay to lie to you. It's okay to rape your women. It's okay to hurt you in any way because you're an infidel. This is where it comes from. So an American's perspective on this, hey, come on. In our country, they are trying to make it shameful to love our president. But I'm going to tell you, the overwhelming feeling in the United States is that things are going very well. And we're absolutely sick of Agent Strzok and his bias and saying, I will stop the presidency. We're sick and tired of Rod Rosenstein and his smug attitude when he's in front of our elected people. And we, as Americans, are sick and tired of the very vocal minority in Britain talking shit on our country and yours and making a mock of your great and storied history. That's what we're sick of. And we would like to see, as Americans, our leaders get along and try to hammer out deals together that will make the world better, not decide who has been offended the most or which is the most oppressed class of society. Because guess what, folks? We are all oppressed in some way. We are all downtrodden in some way. If you're a billionaire, your problems are just as bad as mine and Jason Blackmore's. In fact, they're worse, because you found out that your money won't fix your problems. And Jason and I, we deal with our problems. So let's quit this shit. Let's quit this Muslim. To quote Morgan Freeman, quit calling me a white man, and I'll quit calling you a Muslim. And let's find out what's wrong with our society.
Well, that is one of the biggest problems that both countries, I feel, actually have to face, and that's the fact of whether it is a Muslim problem, whether it is a cultural difference, or whether it's to do with anything else. If we don't talk about the actual problems, as in how the left doesn't want us to define what the problem is and go after the people telling what the problems is, then it's a case of those problems will only escalate, they'll only infest and fester. So we do need to talk about whatever the issues are and whatever the problems are. Because if you don't talk about the problems, you can't deal with the problems. And the thing is, if you don't deal with a problem, it gets worse. It doesn't go away. You just forget that it was there until it happens to you. And then it's a problem. And then you have a crusade against it. And words are chosen on purpose.
Yeah, I felt like I was batting cleanup too. You really took the Mickey on that last one, mate. That was brilliant to listen to. When I see these stuffed shirts, Jason, that's why young men like you give me hope, because there is a chance for our society that we wouldn't have stuffed shirts so full of themselves that believe that he was this. Who was this guy? This tall, dark-haired guy?
He is Ed Miliband. He was leader after Gordon Brown was Prime Minister from Labour.
Mr. Miliband, could you not feel the "I'm better than you" oozing from him? That I am, not only am I better than you, but I am speaking. He was speaking as if he was speaking with the voice of Britain. Was he speaking with your voice, mate?
No, he wasn't speaking with my voice, but that's what the left do. They force people to be spoken for that can't speak for themselves or haven't spoken. That's one of the things that the left love doing. If, for instance, that I didn't have a voice to say, by God damn it, the left would tell me how I have been voting and how I would be thinking and how I would have spoken. But because I have a voice, they can't do that. But because I have a voice, they'll tell me I'm wrong.
Well, and they'll go so far as to say, depending upon how you vote, that you're a racist. I was just told by Whoopi Goldberg not too long ago, and mind you, she is the head of a long line of people who told me this, that I am racist because I voted for Donald Trump. That I didn't know I was racist when I voted for them. In fact, I've been told that I'm anti-Semitic because I voted for Donald Trump. I'm a fucking Jew. I'm not. I love my people more than I can express right now, because if I do, Jesse Jennings will tell me I don't exist and I'm a piece of shit. So I'm not going to go there. Just a little dig, Jesse. No offense. And so, well,
if I may very quickly interject, I do find it very, very funny when people say that people that voted for Donald Trump are anti-Semitic, but yet you have somebody in Ben Shapiro. Yes, I know he's not a staunch defender of Donald Trump. No. But even he will come out and say that, no, Donald Trump's actually done good for the country. He's actually done better than Obama has. And that's Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, well, he didn't vote for him. He was totally anti-Trump through the whole election. I know you know that, man. I'm not educating you. I want everybody else to realize that, yes, there's a good example. Another one is Steven Crowder, who audaciously voted for him, but has been a watchdog on him the whole way along. And like me, when the Syria thing happened, well, and he did waffle on that, so Crowder's a bad example. But look, even myself, I love Donald Trump. But
Crowder's actually a good example, because Crowder is what you would call I would say he is just right of centre. He's not what you would call a proper Republican. No. Two Scotsman fallacy, sorry guys. But he's not what you would call a proper Republican, and he's nowhere near a Democrat. He's what you would call a proper liberal or libertarian. And the thing is, he's watching Donald Trump, and he's actually saying, no, Trump's actually doing all right. He's not amazing, but he's doing all right.
Yep. And I agree. I mean, what I will say is amazing is I even heard Juan Williams on Fox News, who is their token liberal on The Five, if you ever catch that program, The Five on Fox. And he was saying that, look, one thing that I hate about him, and that a lot of my liberal Democrat counterparts hate about him, is that he is keeping his promises. Nobody thought he would, but he is actually keeping his promises. Now, you may not agree with what he said, but common sense, how refreshing would it be if a prime minister actually did what they said? Even if you didn't agree with it. Now, you don't agree with what they said, but then you watch them do it. How good would that make you feel?
Very, very well good. That's why I think a lot of people are actually happy with Donald Trump, because he has actually done almost all of his campaign promises, or if not all of them, before he even finished his second year. That's fucking amazing for any politician to be able to do, let alone somebody that's Donald Trump, that had, please correct me if I'm wrong, but had the complete and utter Senate against him, as it was a democratically held office, basically, as in the group.
Well, not at the moment. We'll see at the end of the midterm.
Yeah, I meant in general, for his first 2 years, it's been a democratically held Senate.
We have enough right. No, it's Republican held, but I'm going to give you this common sense. Two things: you're British, and you don't have to know that. But two, we have enough rhinos, Republican in name only. That yes, it's been a fucking Democratic Senate and House. They're the only ones that don't give ground. I mean, I see, and for myself, I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I have no real stake in this, except I want to see America go. I don't have a dog in the fight in the Senate. No one represents me there. But you got to say, it's a shame to watch one side concede, and give ground, and the other side never give ground. And what they're not giving ground on is the most ridiculous social issues. They're forcing this stuff on us. Why can't they just allow us to live together? I didn't see no big problem in Britain or in the United States in the 70s and 80s. It was working itself out. The race riots were over. People were finding their place in society and enjoying it. And now we're bombarded with this. Everybody hates Trump. You're a white supremacist. You're a Nazi. There's so much racial hate and tension and white supremacy.
It has to do with schools, though, doesn't it? If we're going to go into that point, it's a case of it's been educated to people. People have learned this ideologies. They have learned these ideas. It's a case of people are now putting signs up saying that capitalism is dying or capitalism has failed. Let's try something else. Thinking that communism and socialism hasn't been tried before, apparently. But I suppose it's not true socialism or true communism after all. Besides that, it is the case that it's come through the schools. Now, if you educate people from the age of 5 that there is more than 2 genders, which there is not, there is only 2, hence why in every single other animal we classify them as male or female. It's only humans that have this idea that there is multiple genders, which is only a recent construct, and that's their social construct, not ours or science's. But besides that point, that is a case of it's come through the education system. These are people that are teaching our kids that this is right and what Trump is doing is wrong. This is how they win politics, but changing. I mean, fucking Hitler did this. Hitler made the bloody Hitler Youth to be able to make sure that he was indoctrinating children to believe in his ideology, that they were brought up to think the way that he thought, so that they would be able to follow him blindly. This is what's happening in our schools now. It's being taught to the fact that feminism is amazing. No, egalitarianism is amazing. Humanitarianism is amazing.
Yes. Yeah, the Liberal Party is amazing.
It will be. It will be. After all, we're only building at the minute, but it will be amazing. But that's the point. True egalitarianism is the fact that I can criticize you and you can criticize me, and it doesn't matter what our fucking ideologies are. It matters on the points you're criticizing. After all, to win any debate, as when I was taught as a kid, if you start going after the person, you've already lost because your ideas can't hold up.
Yes. Yeah, well, I don't know if we took the piss properly out of that. If we want to go to the next story, I really don't. I mean, you know what, common sense, I said all I had to say about this myself. In fact, I didn't have to say a word. You covered it so good in the beginning. It's easy for someone to stand there and spout off. But you know what? There was no one there countering anything this person said. He was in front of a huge crowd that was just, bent on any evil that they could push our way. And I tell you, I'm tired of carrying it on my shoulders. We have a great president. We have a great country. And so do you. You have a good prime minister. Okay. We could both, we could both take the piss, and she's probably at the end. But I want to say this, common sense. I'm going to say this because I don't know the lady. I believe this too, that Miss May has tried her best. I just don't believe that what she's trying is the right thing. I want to leave it at that. So I guess even what I'm saying, well, and even what I'm saying right now, it could be very well argued that she's not a great prime minister. Okay. I would argue that fact. I'm just trying to give the benefit of the doubt, because you know what? Who wants a Yank to sit here and spout off? And that's what I'm trying to avoid to do. Common sense guy, he can say whatever he wants. He can say whatever, because he's educated on the matter, and he's a Brit. He has the right to say what he wants. But you know what? It's very presumptuous.
So do you, though, Ogre. That's the thing. So do you.
Yes, I have the right to say, but it's very presumptuous, and it sounds. This guy sounds like an ass to me, and I don't want to sound like that kind of ass. Is what I'm trying to say. So look, don't reserve your criticism for your country only. I'm not saying that. I'm going to try to say what would take me an hour in about another 30 seconds. This is something that we have to look inside of ourselves. Sometimes you have to realize sometimes one has to realize that the best thing one can do is to shut up. And in this case, look, there's enough bad. Common sense knows what's wrong with Miss May. And if he didn't, I'm sure I could find some things to point out. And in this case, I'm going to take my advice, and I will on this. I'm trying to today the whole way through, and I will in the future. This is not my country. I can have my opinions. I can state them, but I will leave it to those more educated and those from the country. I would ask ye Britons to please give me the same courtesy. If you dislike the president, that's fine. You can dislike him. Just don't say that he sucks. If you don't live here, you don't know him. You don't even live here. You don't know what it's about. And if you have to, well, I'll go back to free. Look, I feel like I'm floundering because I don't want to be against free speech, common sense. You're even guiding me and saying, look, I'm not against free speech. I'm just saying have some couth, show a little restraint, and realize that if you don't know the country, if you don't live there, well, maybe you don't know the whole thing. So I will defer to common sense wisdom and say, well, maybe Theresa May is a treasonous man. She's not a very good example of a good prime minister.
No, she's definitely not a good example as a prime minister. And I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of why she's not, just for the simple fact of just look at the Chequers deal. This is a deal that for anybody that is in America or anybody else that is foreign that is watching, is the fact of she has basically said that we are going to be completely and utterly intertwined with Europe, as in we're still going to be technically members of the customs unions and technically members of the single market, but we're basically leaving in name only. We're not actually leaving. We're still actually part of the EU still. Hence why, very good segue, Donald Trump, Theresa May's Brexit plan will kill US trade deal. Donald Trump criticizes Theresa May's Brexit approach and says that Boris Johnson has got what it takes to be prime minister. And 7 more days, well, 5 more days. No, 7 more days. Sorry, I was right the first time. 7 more days. And I absolutely love that picture because I think Mrs. Trump is looking straight ahead thinking, if you touch my husband one more time, I'm going to deck you. And Theresa May is like, what do I have to do, Big Trump? What do I have to do to get you to sign this deal? Help me, please.
I like that picture. That picture, yes, that's perfect. That's good. And then look, what about her husband? Wait. Before you go on, what about her husband over there? Isn't that her husband on the end?
That is, yes, that is her husband. Her husband is
What's he thinking?
Well, he's probably thinking, do I have to put on the strap on again?
I thought he was exactly what I was thinking. I thought he was saying, am I going to get pegged tonight again? And if so, I need another fucking sherry. Pardon my French.
So this is by Alan McGuinness. Donald Trump has warned Theresa May her Brexit blueprint will kill hopes of any future trade deal with the US. In an explosive interview, the US president told The Sun, if they do a deal like that, we would be dealing with the European Union instead of dealing with the UK. so it probably killed the deal. Now, the reason why I've made this after Mr. Ed Miliband's rant is because this is what Donald Trump actually said about the Brexit deal. This is him screaming and shouting, remember? Remember, he was screaming and shouting about the odds and trying to stamp his authority on it. But let's just read that again, as it's all in quotations. If they do a deal like that, we would be dealing with the European Union instead of dealing with the UK. So it will probably kill the deal. I don't really see that as an interjection. Do you, Mr. Ogre? Well, that was Mr. Ogre's points on that one. The comments from Mr. Trump will send shockwaves through Westminster and emerged as the Prime Minister hosted him at a lavish banquet at Buckingham Palace, the birthplace of Sir Winston Churchill. Perfect place for the idea of free trade to be able to actually be implemented rather than at Westminster, where nothing free has ever been made. Mr. Trump hit out at the PM's handling of the Brexit negotiations, claiming he, quotation, would have done it much differently. Again, not really much of an interjection. I told Theresa May to do it, how to do it, sorry, but she didn't agree. She didn't listen to me. Deals that take too long are never good ones, he said. And surprisingly enough, as being that he's a multi-millionaire and been bankrupt a couple of times and then built himself back up again, is a case of he probably knows what he's talking about when it comes to deals. Probably. I'm not saying he would perfectly know, but, you know, possibly would have a good idea.
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So you have these little bits and pieces, and I just wanted to quickly go back up to what I asked you before. I remember that Ed Miliband Ogre was saying that Trump completely and utterly was steadfast, and he was interjecting and he was stamping his authority around. Now, listen to this and tell me if you think he was interjecting and stamping his authority. If they do a deal like that, we'd be dealing with the European Union instead of dealing with the UK. So it would probably kill the deal. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, obviously, and again, I want to say that he was very gracious when they had the joint presser. The joint presser was so great. The only thing I'm going to say it now, common sense, because you haven't commented on it. No, I'll leave it for the end.
No, it's fine. I've already commented on it.
Well, no, because I want to leave this comment for a minute. So, because I want to get your point on this, but it'll take me right off track. So, look, Donald Trump was very gracious when this was bam, because I mean, he knows by now everything he says. In fact, he does it for a reason. It's all going to come back and it's going to be questioned. He just looked at Mrs. May, at Prime Minister May, and said, well, I did give you advice and you didn't take it. And she said, no, well, she didn't say anything. She just kind of stood there. And he said, but that doesn't mean that this is a horrible thing. We are going to work together. Donald Trump, listen, folks, Donald Trump is going to give you advice on how to wash your dog if he's there while you're doing it. He is going to believe that the way he washes a dog is going to be better than your way, even though I bet the bastard has never washed a dog in his life. This is something that a supreme alpha male, a guy that's, as you pointed out, I don't want to go through
further. Surely it would be a case that somebody with Donald Trump experience of actually doing trade deals probably knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Probably knows what he's talking about. And I do believe that if he wouldn't say all of this that people say he was so mean to her and she counted out. He never said, well, this is what I told her and she didn't do it. He actually said, you know what? I'm not going to mention the advice I gave her because she didn't take it. And it's her job to do what she wants. I'm going to bet that the advice, common sense, was get out now. Tell them all to piss off. You're your own country. And let's face it, not only, this is what the point I was going to make too. So now I get to it. Not only if she would have done that, would it have made the Brexiters happy, but it would have made all of Britain happy, because you can tell me now, this is the question to you, Jason.
Yep.
Did you appreciate watching how she acted in front of another world leader? Did it make you feel proud to be a Briton to see the way she acted there? Or did you feel like she was being a cuck
I don't know.
I don't have the words. They're all inappropriate.
Well, I've got the words. I've got the words. It depends. It's like watching your mum trying to sell herself to make sure that she can pay the rent.
God, you know it. Yes. Yes. And that's how I felt. Like she was basically politically prostituting herself. She was definitely prostrate. She was laid flat, near bowing. And that's what I didn't like. I did not like that she kept deferring to him to answer first. Look, it's her country. I love Donald Trump. He's my president. If she was here, well, of course, you know, whatever. But she kept deferring to him. And it was really, she laid prostrate. And for me, as an American, when I watched that, I can't imagine that any Briton was happy with her performance there.
No, definitely not. Well, I don't know about any Briton. I can't speak for everybody, same as nobody can, obviously, but one can make an assumption. For me, no, I don't think that even people that voted Remain, or most people that voted Remain, would look at the deal that she's done with Europe and look at it and go, this does nothing for anybody. This doesn't make us remain properly. This doesn't make us leave properly. She has left us in limbo because she is Theresa the Appeaser. And she cannot pick a fucking side. She is a bloody preacher's daughter that likes to sit on the fence. I don't know why she likes sitting on the fence.
We can guess.
For a particular reason why she likes doing it. And this must be because she enjoys it for some reason. I don't really know. But it's the case that she's never made an actual political decision that goes against other people's majority. She's always gone to the side of the majority. Even if she has said beforehand, I don't really like that, I would never really do anything like that. And 2 weeks down the line, she changed her fucking mind.
Theresa the Appeaser.
She used to do that a hell of a lot when she was Home Secretary.
Common sense. Who came up with that? Where did you get that, Theresa the Appeaser? The Appeaser. Did you just make that up?
I've been in the sun and been in the news for a while. I can't take credit for that, unfortunately.
I'm sorry. That's the first time I heard it. That was better than Theresa May. That was so good, because that's what I saw. That's what I saw this morning at the presser. I saw Theresa the Appeaser, and right now, Great Britain does not need a treasonous May or Theresa the Appeaser. She doesn't need. She, meaning Great Britain, doesn't need another one of these politicians. They need another Churchill. And
yes.
Maybe you won't agree with this, but they need another Thatcher. They need someone that will say, we are England. Did you forget?
Yeah, no, I completely not agree with that. I mean, Margaret Thatcher is one of the famous speeches that she's ever said is no, no, no.
Yep.
And that's one of her famous speeches. For one thing that she would always be remembered, the fact that she would not bow down to Ronald Reagan and a couple of other people in the House as well for obviously the Falklands War.
Yeah, everybody said that she was Ronald Reagan's like lapdog. I think it was the other way around. And I'm going to say this: my grandfather. I won't turn the camera around again, but everybody's seen him. He's right there looking at me. My Jewish grandfather died in the Wool Democrat. He had a little parakeet that he named Thatcher, and he loved Margie. In fact, I'm gonna tell you this: everybody I knew, we looked up to her. But I mean, God, common sense. I don't want to get too far off track, but man, it pains me. This giant country over here, this giant country that fought a war of independence against your great empire. And now we respected so much then. We respected you. We looked at your, and now it's gone. It's dissipated. The respect on a human basis, not for you, Jason Blackmore, but for your country because of the leaders, it's going away. This whole PC thing, brother, is destroying strength. It's destroying the ability to lead.
No, I'm absolutely with you, my friend, on that one. All I've got to say is, as I'm speaking, look at that fucking twat. Just look at him. Just look at him.
Man, he's diminutive. He's a little tiny guy, isn't he?
Yes, Sadiq Khan has been a very, very tiny guy for.
Looks like you could hold him right in the palm of your hand, like you could. It's like my little chicken, like you could just.
I want to know if that big woman on the left of the screen. Yeah, why she's carrying scissors? Is she going to cut his arm there?
It looks like she wants to eat him. It looks like she's looking at him like he's a chicken dinner.
I wonder if he hasn't had the snip yet.
Well, he should now. You know, he should. Common sense.
Why else has she got the scissors for?
You're saying she's there for the breasts like 45 years too late?
It's a possibility. I can't see why else. Why else has she got the scissors? Because she wouldn't be the one opening anything up. It would be him.
She wants to saute that ring meat and have it with a side.
Oh, lovely. Or put it into face fucking cream that they used to do.
Mercy sake. All right, let's get back to them. Hey,
no, that's really weird to me that she's like, they've got lots of girls right at the front and so on and so forth. Why the fuck has she got scissors? And why the fuck is she looking at him like, I'm going to eat you. I'm going to have you.
Yeah, that's very strange.
I just can't imagine that. And the thing is, did he not get the memo? Did he not get the memo to wear black? Because everybody else wore black.
And look at and now that you said that, I'm looking at the woman right on the other side of the blonde, the dark hair, and then the bald guy. Look how these three people, they are looking at him like they are going to eat him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, mercy. These people are crazy, mate. When I see this lot of this motley crew, I often think of Antifa here in our country. And the Proud Boys, like 55 Proud Boys, just were attacked by, looked like about 1,500, maybe 2,000 of these. And I mean, come on. In the end, I wonder, why do we worry about these people? Well, I know common sense. You don't want to have to break your countryman's neck. You don't want to do that. I mean, these are the ones, these people are inside. They say, okay, look, Khan says, I don't have no problem with the balloon as long as it's not right. And then when it's turned around, oh, it's violence. And they say that words are violence. Therefore, we must counteract with violence. They are bringing this stuff to a head, man. And I fear for them, common sense. I don't fear for you, mate. I mean, I do in some ways, but I don't really think that you have to worry about somebody coming out of a dark alley at night. You don't look like a victim to me. But I worry about this movement. These insane people that, yes, honest to God, look like they're mad.
Yeah. No, everybody looks like they're mad. Are they absolutely mentally mad or just pissed off?
No, I mean mad, crazy. Mad as a brush.
And that's why I said that first of all.
Yes.
As in mad, as in mental. But no, I absolutely completely agree with you. I mean, I think the main reasons why people don't want to deal with Antifa is not because it's a case of, oh, they're dangerous. And yeah, they can be if they outnumber you, obviously. But it's a case of, it's supposed to be political discourse. It's supposed to be a disagreement on politics. You're not going to war over politics. But yet these people are so dogmatic in their dogma that they honestly believe that they are fighting Nazis. They honestly believe that they are fighting fascists. And that's the reason why they are prepared to put their bodies on the line for it. But if you look at it from a psychological analysis, it would be the case if you would actually class them as actually having some form of psychosis to be able to make them feel, or they do feel, that they are in a world where there is actual physical Nazis that are taking over the White House and are actually making internment camps or concentration camps again. And that's the reasons why they're going out and fighting. If this was 20 years ago, Antifa would be put into bloody asylums. It wouldn't be a case that they would be allowed to roam the streets. I'm not saying that they should be arrested, but I think their psychology should be evaluated. If they honestly believe there are Nazis running around, they might have a problem.
I would call it common sense, a social malaise. That's what's happening. Because
I would actually call it a social psychosis, or I would actually call it a multiple psychosis, where group psychosis even.
I like the social psychosis, social malaise. It's a social it's confusion brought about by a constant, as you said, everyone that disagrees is a Nazi. Why, my God, common sense. Eventually, you see Nazis in the hedges.
Yep.
You see Nazis at your local chip shop. And what they want us to believe is that when common sense guy goes and he goes out for curry, and then there's an Indian man, serving him his curry, he looks at him and this foreigner. I hate this foreigner because he's olive skin and has dark hair. And no, this is the social malaise, the social psychosis that is going on. I don't believe that. I don't look around for the Antifa in the soup bowl. I don't believe that you look around for the Muslim in the hedgerows.
No.
But our opposition, if you will, they see Nazis in the hedgerows, common sense. They see Nazis at the chip shop. They see fascists at their local curry shop. They cannot separate the fact from the fiction, and they live in a social psychopathy and a social malaise.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that. I really do agree with you on that. I really do think that a lot of these people are lost, completely and utterly dependent on identity politics. Where a lot of people say that they believe in a religion, I honestly do feel the reasons why so many younger people have gone into politics is for the fact of that they have lost a purpose, a sense of meaning, a sense of righteousness, or a sense of belonging, a sense of making a difference. Because I do honestly feel that, and this is my opinion, obviously not Ogre's, but my opinion on this is, I feel that a lot of people that do follow religion, apart from believing in the God themselves, believe in the idea that if they believe in a religion, then it all makes sense and it's all worth something. And I think people have now transferred that point, just that bit, not the believing in the God bit, but believing in it's worth something, it's worth doing, I'll be remembered, or it's worth a point of doing something, has now been transferred to the idea of politics. And I think a lot of people have now thought, I'm going to believe in something, I'm going to do something, I'm going to make my life worthwhile. And I think a lot of people have fallen into this dogma of thinking they're going to be social justice warriors, or they're going to fight for social justice. I think those terminologies have fucked everybody up.
And that's a good point, very poignant, because this is something that's taken place of religion. And in the human psyche, we need a place for religiosity. And bear with me, what I mean by that is not you have to be a Christian, but you kind of do have to be a Buddhist or a Christian or a Taoist or a mentalist, somebody that you have to find something that helps you spiritually. We are men. We mankind. We are men and women. We are men. We have a spiritual side, and this is a group of people that has cast that part of their psyche down the wrong path, my brother. They're filling this hole, for lack of a better term. Bear with me again. I'm not saying, oh, you need Jesus to fill the hole. Maybe I feel that way. Maybe I don't. But I'm not saying you have to fill it with anything I say. But when obviously it needs to be filled, and when you don't have a proper something, you don't have your Buddhist community surrounding you, don't have your Muslim community surrounding you, then man, it falls apart. You get ISIS coming in, and you get things coming in, and people fill that void, and you end up with this social psychosis. You end up with people that are filling a space with something that is so painful, so hurtful to society, that it's getting out of hand, mate. And we're watching our society pay for it right now. You're watching your beloved Britain pay for it right now.
Definitely.
This woman, Theresa May, she's so scared of saying something that's non-PC common sense that she was kissing the ass of the president of the United States. My God, that's not British.
She was kissing something.
That is not British, my friend, at all.
No, not in polite company, not in public.
No,
one doesn't do that in public. But no, I do honestly feel that fear of religion or religiosity, or I think it's more of a case of well-being, a place of no belong somewhere. I think that's where the human psyche has transferred from religion and gone into politics. I don't think it's necessarily this sense of believing something, but it's a case of believing in you and that you are doing something right. I think us as humans need that, and I think that we're misguiding ourselves on the idea of social justice or social justice warriors, or the idea that we have to protect everybody that can't be protected. I think a lot of people have fallen for that trap. I think a lot of people have done that. I would say, though, that when I say religion, I mean probably a cult, because it's more of a cult mentality than a religion. Because once you join Labour and you become the identity politics of Labour, it doesn't matter what dogma or what rhetoric you hear from the opposite side, or rather, what facts you hear from the opposite side, or when you're even proven wrong, it doesn't matter anymore. You just block those people and you carry on in your ideas and your belief. Nothing can change your belief. And I think that's the reason why I would call it a religion, or why I would call it a cult. That once you have your ideas challenged, or once you have your ideas proven to be factually wrong, you block that person, or you have to find a way of destroying that person's point of view, or destroying that person's credibility.
And both sides are at fault. Both sides are at fault for this.
No. I'm not saying that, but I'm thinking it's more of a case of when the left, particularly, are going on that when they have to destroy what you've just said or what I've just said, it's a case of, rather than trying to destroy your points because they can't, they know it's wrong. The way that they destroy your argument is by destroying you, destroying your credibility. So when they destroy your credibility, you're a racist, you're a fascist. That way I don't have to listen to you. Your points don't mean anything. And that's the way that they can rationalize it in their head, to think that they are actually still correct, and the way that they can still believe what they want to believe, rather than being proven wrong.
I still see it on both sides myself, in that
depends on how far you go, but I mean generally from feminist points of views, it's more prevalent on the left than it is on the right.
Oh well, I agree that it's more, but let's face it, the right uses flat out religion. They will flat out say God and bring religion into politics. And I will stand here as a former minister of God. God don't want to be in politics, folks. He doesn't support the right and the left, or the left, in my humble, educated opinion. When you bring God into those things, be it God from the Judeo-Christian, or be it God, whoever, I don't care if it's Isis and Osiris, you're cheapening the gods. You're bringing them down to a human level that, oh man, there's no excuse or reason for. And this dogma, I believe, is bringing about this social malaise. We have to let go. There is no religiosity in politics. If you are standing there, as you say, and this is what I believe, and I'm not going to change my mind. Not only has it become a factor of religiosity, but now you don't even count in the conversation, because you're not allowing yourself to be open-minded. We don't have open-minded people left in this country, common sense. I should say in this world.
I would agree. But like I said, I think the reasons why we agree is I think our starting positions are from two different places. Mine's from a non-religious point, an atheistic point, and yours is from a religious point. So from when we both start, we both have a bias to get to where we're going. But where we're going is the same thing. We both do believe that it's a case of we have swapped one form of religion for another form of religion, which is religion in its complete and entirety, where you worship a deity, to technically still worshiping a deity, but a living deity that is in politics. And the reason why I say the left are more at fault of doing this is because of the way that they vanguard Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, wow.
Bernie Sanders and others of that ilk.
Yes, and they sure do deify these people.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're right. I try not to let it come through, but you know, all of our ideas come from a certain base. I want to say one last thing on this, and it is to defend my position, and that is, as a Christian, I strongly believe in everyone else having their own ideas. And where I come from is an understanding of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that God doesn't judge people the way that folks think. That he would look at someone based on what they know. And if you are standing up for what you believe, it wouldn't even matter to that God. In fact, I would go so far as to say, I've studied many religions. It wouldn't matter to Krishna. If you have a firm faith and you stand up for what you believe, that's what matters. But what we're looking at is, as you say, the left is more into this. I'm so sorry about this little bird. I'm going to try to get her to go back to sleep in a second. I hope the people didn't too much. But what we're looking at is people that are unabashed at using this common sense. Their religion is identity politics.
Yeah.
Their religion is intersectional feminism and intersectional racism. Their religion is You, common sense, have white privilege. Can't you feel it?
Yeah, I can feel it every day when I can't walk very far, or every day when my back is killing me so much I can't move off the settee, or where I get so bad headaches that I can't even watch a television program because I'll be sick. I've got so much white privilege.
Yeah, and where you still have tried to kill yourself working and had to, I don't want to go on into that, make it a crybaby fest. But yes, there's too many people like you that are working hard and still have to prove what they are. This is beyond religion. I think the better way to say it, you have said, it's dogma. And when we adhere to a dogma, we are leaving common sense and reason out of the equation. And that leads everybody down the road to perdition, folks. Everybody.
Yeah,
and you know what?
I was just going to say, Ogre's made an extremely poignant point there, to the point of everybody goes down there. Yes, that's the reason why we're having such a polarization at the moment from both sides, from the right, from the left, to the point where there is no center anymore because it's getting pulled and stretched because people are being forced to take sides. And the more that you force people to take sides, as I've already said to a lot of people before, the people that make you force to pick a side generally go to the opposite side. So if you have the left that's saying, you should join us because you're black, or you should join us because you're gay, then most people will go to the right simply because you're telling them what to do. Most people, not all, obviously, hashtag blah, blah, blah. But it's a case of, because that polarization is happening in the center, you're losing the middle ground. This means now that you're losing the middle ground, you're not having the conversations happening anymore. So the only thing that's happening is bubble here, bubble there. Every now and again, small bubbles interact and they burst. So people are actually having the communication and actually having the chance to be able to have an exchange of ideas. It's not happening anymore because the dogma is taking over. The rhetoric is taking over. You're this. You're a white male. You have no culture. You're a leftist communist. You don't believe in capitalism. It doesn't matter anymore. Don't worry about the ideologies anymore. Speak about what the problems are rather than what you think they are. Because when you assume, all you're doing is making an ass out of you and me. You're not actually doing anything that's going to protect you. All you're doing is destroying the process of being able to make things better for everybody.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Well, I think we've taken the Mickey out of this one. I know you got another good story left. It's funny how these things take us on so many different trails, common sense. And I really believe that what I believe is that we do hopefully show a good example to people, and that whatever path your studies take you down, go down that path. Don't go into any line of thought with a preconceived notion and a preconceived dogma, please. If I did that my whole life, I can tell you this, I wouldn't be where I am right now, mentally, spiritually, financially, in no way, because you close the door to everyone else's ideas. So I really appreciate your ideas on that, whether or not I agree with all of them. That was a good conversation.
I appreciate that. I'm actually just going to finish off the story that we actually had before, because there was a little bit more that I wanted to go through. And
yeah, sorry, I got off on that picture, man. Sorry about that.
Well, we both did, yeah, with the snip. Mr. Trump said ahead of his visit that he could meet Boris Johnson, who resigned earlier this week over Mrs. May's Brexit plan. And in comments that are unlikely to go down well in Downing Street, the president described the former foreign secretary as a very talented guy who he hoped would return to government one day. Mr. Trump said, "I think he is a great representative for your country. I think he's got what it takes, and I think he has got the right attitude to be a great prime minister." Now, I know what my thoughts are on that. I wouldn't actually mind Boris Johnson being prime minister, at least for the Brexit talks. I'm not saying that he would be a great prime minister, but let's be honest, if we had the choice out of Theresa May, Jeremy Corbyn, and Mr. Johnson, who would you pick? Because I know who my money is on. my money would be on Mr. Johnson. And that's my honest to God opinion on that. What about you, Mr. Ogre?
Oh, man. I don't think that Trump should have called her foolish. All right. This whole thing, I'm trying to parse words, so let me not do it. If I had one wish that could be granted for our president, it's that he would keep
Donald Trump never called May foolish, by the way. If you're looking at where it says May foolish to expect any return from Trump visit, that's from Sky's report of Dominic Waghorn, not from.
Well, Trump. I am okay. He didn't call her foolish. He did say a few times that she should have taken his advice if it would have. If I had one hope, one wish, it would be that sometimes what leaders thought in their mind, they would keep in private. Everyone doesn't need to know everything. And I really believe he went out of his way on this situation to make your prime minister look bad. I maybe it wasn't obvious to everyone, but as someone that has been in many board meetings and has dealt with church boards, has dealt with, had a couple corporations I was involved in, what happened was orchestrated. It was orchestrated by a master manipulator. And I know I'm not trying to go completely off topic, common sense, or completely avoid what you're asking. I'm just saying that, look, as much as he wants to say that if his advice would be taken, things would be different, as much as Trump would like to say that he's right about everything, you don't have to rub somebody's face in it. And maybe they could be correct too. What about throwing a shoulder behind the cart and pushing instead of always trying to look for a way to say, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. And yeah, and I look, I'm not going to defend myself anymore other than to say this is a very touch and go time we live in. This is, everybody is saying everybody else is racist. And then the other side is saying that people are blowing everything out of proportion. Maybe there is racism, but with what's going on, we can't look at it. Maybe the Brexit is going screwed up, but everybody's saying every freaking different thing. And as much as I like Boris and Davis, I don't know, man, just quitting. I mean, if I feel right now, common sense, not to completely steer this, but I really feel like at the moment, Brexit ain't never going to happen. And I feel that at the moment, that before another 2 years goes by, they're going to make something up and Trump's going to end up in jail. I don't know how else to say it. I see that if something don't drastically change, that all of our hopes for a future are going to end in a totalitarian dystopian state that will control every fucking thing we do. And all of our petty bickering then and arguing, not yours and mine. I don't think anything we argue about is petty. I really don't. I think we argue about the big things. But all of our petty bickering being the right and the left, the up and the down, the whatever, will end in all of us being in chains. What does it matter if we say we're fighting against something and then we all end up in a concentration camp? At the end, it doesn't matter. I'm on the bottom bunk, you're on the top bunk. I mean, what's the difference? I would like to see diplomacy reign again. Did I completely avoid the question?
Yeah, it's fine. Well, we can go on to a little tangent, which is absolutely fine on that point. I absolutely think that Boris Johnson and David Davis did remarkably actually resigning over that. Because if it's a case that they don't believe in what they're going to say, which is the reasons why they both resigned, then wouldn't you rather somebody stick on their principles of resigning for not lying to the general public? Or would you rather them stay in office just to lie to the general public to keep their jobs?
Not lie, but maybe stay in office to be able to influence it. Because now they're gone.
They can't. That's the reason why it was done. That as a cabinet, the way that the cabinet works, that they take a consensus, they take a vote. So even though they objected to it as the cabinet meeting happened, when the cabinet had a vote to decide on the actual Brexit plan, there was only him and a couple of others that disagreed with it. Most of them agreed with the idea. So they had to, as a cabinet, make a joint decision on it. And because they made a joint decision on it, they have decided that they can't lie to the general public over it. So they resigned over it. They can't change it. They had to resign over it.
I just feel like all the good people are getting pushed out. Common sense. I want to try to lay some blame, obviously, but you make a good point. I want to lay some blame on.
I honestly don't think that it's a case of them being pushed out. I think it's a case that they have, as I said before on Wednesday stream. Was it Wednesday stream? No, Monday stream. Sorry.
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. As I said on Monday stream, I honestly feel this is done strategically. I honestly feel this was done as a last resort. I honestly do feel that David Davis and Boris Johnson both wanted to make the best of Brexit. I thought that they wanted to try and do things as democratically as possible. I think May has pushed them and forced this decision onto them. And I think May in herself has forced them to physically lie to the people to say that they are backing a deal in which they would never have backed in the first place. So if we're going to go back onto who does this and who does what, it is on May's corner, it is on May's shoulders that this decision has taken. Not anybody else. May.
All right. Well, let me be blunt then. I don't think. I think that Donald Trump did the right thing in saying that he thought Boris would be a great prime minister, and I think where he went wrong was backpedaling when he was in front of Theresa May, and I think that he did that in order to cuck her, and he did. I mean, what happened was he manipulated her right in front of the public, and man, I don't know if that's not worth a vote of no confidence. I don't know what is.
And I'm so glad that he did that. And the reasons why I was so glad when he took presidency was because he could see weak people. He could see people that were liars and connivers and deceivers. And yes, I'm using big words, but it is the case that he's able to see those qualities in people. And unfortunately, they are a quality in some aspects and some places. And unfortunately, one of those is governments.
Yes. Yeah.
And with Theresa May, all she's done has been able to say that this is a case of this is what we're doing. Brexit means Brexit. We're going to be strong and stable. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And she's done nothing.
Then done nothing.
She's done absolutely nothing of this whatsoever. Done absolutely nothing of what she said. So the point is now that when she's been trying to appease everybody, she has absolutely destroyed the Remainer camp of her party. She has absolutely destroyed the Leaver side of her party. She has made such a fracture between her party and other parties as well on the Leave and Remain divide that now she will get a vote of no confidence. I am almost 100% sure on that. And she has brought this on herself by not being strong enough. And no, that's not because she's a woman. It's because she has decided to go on the document that she has done to try and appease everybody rather than just going on either staying in Europe or leaving it.
Yeah, because if you try to appease everybody, then you make no one happy. That's just the way it is.
Exactly. You can make some of the people happy some of the time, but you can never make everybody happy at any of the time.
Well, I'll tell you, I second Donald Trump's sentiment that he didn't back up when he should have, and that is I would love to see Boris as your prime minister. I do believe that he would do your country some good. I know he'd get a lot of flack, and it'd be very difficult for him. But yes. I think that he would lead with his brain, not with his feelings, and that's what we need.
I completely not agree with that. I think that he would be a very good leader, at least for the idea of Brexit, at least. I think we do need a Brexiteer. I would love for somebody like Jacob Rees-Mogg to actually be able to run properly. Somebody who actually believes in the ideas of freedom of speech. Yes, he's got his own religiosities in himself and in his rhetoric, but he doesn't force them upon everybody else. He understands what the process of democracy is. He understands what me having an opinion means to what he having an opinion means, and respecting both sides of the argument. I think we need somebody like that nowadays to be able to draw us back to the idea of having civility. As everybody on the internet recently has been talking about, is the idea of civility a good thing? Yes, it is. If you take civility out of the discussion, all you're going to do is start beating the crap out of everybody.
You got nothing.
And that's not going to help anybody. Not going to help anybody whatsoever. The only way that you can be able to work out your problems and work out your disagreements, because believe it or not, even if you have a fight, 9 times out of 10, you haven't sorted anything out. All you've done is, if you're going to work with that person, you're going to see him tomorrow or see her tomorrow. You're not going to win. You need to talk about situations and sort things out properly.
Well, not only are we getting close to the 2-hour mark, but I'm dying for this last story. I have been since I read it.
How about the data poll?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll sort that out. Or
no, I don't mean we got to go to it. We don't have to go to it right now. We got a little bit of time left. I'm looking at this, and it kind of ties into what we're saying. And it's so amazing that what the press wants us to believe and what is true are very rarely the same thing. Very rarely.
Which is why I was so happy when I saw the story come up and I screen capped it just in case they changed it.
Yeah, I can't believe. Honest to God, I can't believe. I mean, you see, it's Sky News. It ain't BBC.
Well, that is one thing. The only thing I would say about Sky News is, even though they are left-leaning, they're not as left-leaning as the BBC.
Who is the only people that are is the Democratic Republic of Korea.
They're so far left though; they're almost right wing.
Yeah, they're coming around the bend to the other side, aren't they? Yeah, no. But I don't want to cut you off. I'm sure you have some last thing to say on that last one. It's just, again, it's very tough for me, and I did it, but it's tough for me to beat up, anything that happens with your leaders, because I'm not British and I do love your country. I don't want to come across as some asshole Yank that knows better than everybody in your country.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, even me as being an Englishman, I'm going to talk on British politics, which means I talk about Welsh as well as Scottish as well as Northern Irish. I think the state of Northern Irish politics at this moment in time is absolutely laughable. The fact that they don't even have a proper government at the minute is absolutely amazing to me. I would talk about French politics. I would talk about any sort of politics that I would have a brief understanding in. I think that's the process of being able to have an idea, have an agreement, have a disagreement, to be educated. Because if you speak to somebody from France, they can actually tell you what's going on, or at least their perception of what's going on, show you to more sources, and you can educate yourself. Just because you may not understand completely what's going on, you can still have an opinion. I know this is not directed towards Ogre, it's actually directed to everybody that's watching us at this moment in time. It is everybody that has an opinion based on their ideas and their logic. Doesn't mean that their logic is sound, it doesn't mean their ideas are sound, but you have to respect their opinions because it's from their logic and their ideas. Same thing as what we've been going about all the way through this stream. Just because somebody has the rhetoric of putting up a balloon of Donald Trump doesn't mean they're wrong. Yes, they're misguided. Yes, it's not the correct way of dealing with things. But at the same time, that's what they feel. That's what they want to do. The problem that most people have is the double standards of it. The fact is, if you were going to do it the opposite way around, then they would be crying and calling wolf on it. So that's where people have differences. And I think that's the point of where we have to get to. We have to get back to the point of being able to explain those differences. Because as Memes has always said, we have more in common than what divides us. And that is honestly true. It really is true. All we're trying to do, everybody, even somebody that you completely not disagree with, to me, is communists. But I know that people from the communist ideology, I know that they want to do it for the right reasons in their mind. In their mind. Not in mine, in theirs. So I want to interact with them. I want to talk to them about it. I still want to show them respect. Because if I don't, then who am I to be able to express my opinions? It just means that somebody can dismiss my opinions, because at the end of the day, who the hell am I? I'm just another guy with an opinion.
Yep.
And that's all any of us are. People with opinions.
Yes. Yep. And shall we go on to the next story, mate? Because I was about ready to beat this up, and I'll beat it up for another 20 minutes.
Well, hang on a minute. I did have things sorted, but I completely and utterly stopped again. I would just like to do this bit one last time.
Sure.
In a wide-ranging interview, he also blamed the mayor of London for high crime rates in the city and failing to tackle terrorism. He said Sadiq Khan has shown the US disrespect by personally attacking him while acknowledging that he did not feel welcome in the capital. Now remember, we were just literally watching at the beginning of the stream, Sadiq Khan actually saying, well, if you watch the full video in context, sorry, If you go to the #1 and watch the video, he actually says at the beginning of that interaction with Piers Morgan that he was actually the head of the GLA, and it was his decision to allow the balloon to actually take place, which is the reason why I was putting him up on the actual ideas of him saying that it wouldn't matter if it was Barack Obama, it wouldn't matter if it was a pig costume of him as a balloon.
Yep,
but,
he said it.
Yeah, he said all of that, but, you know, obviously he did have an issue with it. But I just wanted to show everybody that swings and roundabouts, when you actually start attacking each other on your ideologies rather than what's going on, it's a case of then all you're doing is attacking the person. And as I said before, if you start attacking the person, you've lost the argument. And the thing is with Sadiq Khan, all he has done is called Trump a racist and misogynistic and all the other istics and isms that there can be. But yet Donald Trump has gone, well, if you actually look at the statistics, you'll see that under London and why he's been in power, Sadiq Khan has actually made London a hell of a lot worse. He's obviously made London a higher crime rate. He's obviously made a lot of knife deaths to the point where they were almost the same as New York. Yeah. Who won the argument on that one? Not that it matters on point scoring, but who actually won the argument?
Donald Trump. Well, and he, as you said it, you rightly said it, Common Sense, he won the argument without arguing because Sadiq Khan, I didn't hear Trump say, well, Sadiq Khan, you're a racist. You love Islam more than you love, you know, the UK, and you care more about the way of life and the Islamic way of life and Sharia law and all these things and their beliefs more than you love the culture of the UK. I didn't hear him say anything like that. He just said, look, you're a failing mayor. That's not going to the man. That's saying your policies have made this wonderful city, this ancient, wonderful city, a hellhole where you don't know if somebody's going to throw acid in your face or knife you to death if you're a 14-year-old boy standing at a bus stop.
Yep. I think this next bit absolutely epitomizes Sadiq Khan's rhetoric towards Donald Trump. But the only thing that he has to say is, says Mr. Trump and Mr. Khan have come to blows, which is obviously aggrandizement from the paper, so to speak, or Sky News, but that doesn't matter. Before the London mayor forced to call Mr. Trump's claims about the Capitol untrue. So instead of countering the claims, Sadiq Khan just said, that's not true. That's not true. In this interview, Mr. Trump said, you have a mayor who has done a terrible job in London. He has done a terrible job. I think he has done a bad job on crime. If you look, all of the horrible things going on there with all of the crime that is being brought in. And obviously he chose those words very precisely.
Brought in. Yes. Yes. Because this is not a British thing, or you'd have been dealing with it for the last 1,800 years. Yeah. This is not a British thing. This is something that is being imported. Why, I don't want to say, Common Sense, we had to be careful with the censors and whatnot, but what could it be? What's been the biggest change?
Well, I can quite easily say it. If you unfortunately import people from the third world countries that have been honestly been able to deal with their own situations by fighting in the streets or by using knives to sort out their problems, and they have to actually have gangs that have knives as well as guns, talking mainly about the Northern African tribes, for instance, like Somalians, for instance, then generally that's the way that they're going to sort out their problems in our country, because that's the way that they were brought up and able to deal with their problems. That was their culture. It's very hard to change one's culture, to re-culturalize oneself. It's very, very hard. But, you know, it's a case of you look at something like that and you go, oh, yeah, they'll be all right in 10 years. Yeah, how long do we have to wait before we imprison them then from killing people?
How many people have to die? And Common Sense, what is, okay, so why is it that they want you to change? I don't see that they want any.
Sorry, my friend, it seems like we've lost you, but I can understand where your point is coming to. So I would say that it would be, for me, the reasons why they seem to have changed all of this is a case that they don't want to deal with the problem. If they accept what the problem is, and then they have to say that these people have to be dealt with, for instance, that if you go, okay, well, the people that are coming in have criminal records, or the people that are coming in are probably more likely to commit crimes, that means that the idea of multiculturalism in itself would be a case of, why the hell are you doing it? So for me, it would be a case that that's the reason why it's me that has to change, and it's me that has to adopt my culture, because if you admit that what the problem is, it means that you were wrong. And if you admit that you were wrong as a politician, apparently that means that you're not a good politician, that you don't know everything. Well, I'm sorry, that's the definition of being human. We don't know everything. We only know what we know at the time. Now, if information changes, then we sort things out and we differentiate. Now, for me, as Ogre has just asked the question, hopefully he'll be back very, very soon. It would be the fact that that's the reason why people want to direct it towards me or blame Tommy Robinson for reporting on particular incidents and particular crimes, mainly Muslim rape gangs or Pakistani Muslim rape gangs that are in most cities. So for me, it's a case of, if you don't, or for me, it's a case that me thinking, it would be that if they don't deal with the actual problem doesn't exist. And in this day and age, it's easier to blame me or somebody like me that can deal with the criticism, that's not going to scream or kick up too much of a fuss, that it's my fault. And then that way, it's a racist white person. And it's not the fact that we fucked up and we're still going to encourage more and more people in, because eventually it's got to work out, right? Eventually, if you keep on importing people that are naturally going to be more aggressive and use weapons to sort out their problems because that's their culture, then obviously eventually that's going to sort things out and you're actually going to be able to even things out, apparently. At least that's what it seems like. It seems like it's easier to blame other people. Hello there, Mr. Ogre. I basically said that the reasons why the left, because I sort of grasped your question, the reasons why the left seem to pick on somebody like me, for instance, as saying it's my fault, is because it's the reason that they don't want to admit what the true problem is, because if they admit what the true problem is, then they have to admit that they were also wrong, and the fact that they have to stop the idea of multiculturalism.
Well, but not just that. It's so not just pick on you, but I guess my biggest...
No, I meant racist white people.
Okay. Well, and not just white. Okay, so because you have black folks, some of the most ardent Britons I've ever met were blacker than the ace of blacker than Lily Dog. I told you when I was in seminary, I called a gentleman named Craig from Birmingham, African American, twice, but I didn't call him a third time because the second time he let it be known in front of all of us Christian people at this seminary. All of us want to be preachers. He let it be known. You call me an African American again, I'm going to punch you in the mouth. Those are the words he used. And so why is it that they want Craig to change from Birmingham? He's from Birmingham. We know what's going on there. Why do they want him to change? Ardent footballer.
What's going on in Birmingham, actually. We do know what's going on in Birmingham quite well. What's going on in Birmingham is the fact that white people are now a minority in their own fucking city. So yes, we do know what's going on in Birmingham. But no, the thing is, they are not the people that they are emigrating. They are not the people that they are trying to push forward into this idea of multiculturalism, because they've already adapted to the culture. They may not be what certain people would say, oh, you're not English because you're not the right colour. Bollocks. You're English because you're a civic nationalist. You're English because you were born here, you believe in the culture, in my eyes, in my opinion. Yeah. So when they go, oh, it's your fault, it's the racist guy's fault, generally, the white person is at the front of that because it's easier to produce to the left.
Hang on a second. Clear your mind. What I want to ask you is, why do they want your culture to change? Let's, for the time being. Oh man, this is reset. I hope I didn't just kicked off again. There it is. Okay, so let's forget about everything but British. Let's forget about color, because then people could pick this apart. So what I'm asking is, why do they want you and Craig to change? Why do they want your culture? You eat chutney with your toast. You eat fish and chips and go to curry on Saturday night with your friends. You're British. Why do they want you to change? Why do you have to change to accommodate, for lack of a better thing to say, rape gangs? Why do you have to be the one to change? Why does all the diversity have to shift one way? Why can't they shift and become English?
because it's easier for people to change a culture that's already being changed. So, for instance, if you already have half of the people, as in leftists in general, for instance, or people that support Labour or the idea of multiculturalism, then you have these people that are already halfway there. So if you have those people then saying that it's better for you to change your culture so you can be accommodating, so you can help these people, then it's a case of those people unfortunately go, yeah, you're right, that's our duty, that's what we should do. We should bend over and spread. That's what we should do. And no, it's not a case of that. What you say is completely true. If they're coming to a country, any country, even if it's Deutschland, even if it's Netherlands, even if it's Denmark, even if it's America, even if it's South America, Mexico, or wherever, you go and learn their culture. You adapt to where you're moving to.
Oh, you said it, though.
Why the hell would you move there in the first place?
You said it, though. You answered the question. The question was, why is it that you, and the answer was, because we're willing to change, because we have a section of our population that looks at Britain and says they don't like what Britain is. Yeah. They don't like going to the pub with lads and enjoying a beer. They don't like going to Speaker's Corner and having their, saying their piece, whether it's popular. They don't like any of that. They want to stop that up. And because that culture, and as you said, it's not all of them, but because a significant chunk of them are willing to change, well, then why wouldn't the ones come in and say, then, yeah, jump on our bandwagon and we'll have Sharia law next week? And it makes me sick, common sense. It really does.
I'm completely and utterly with you. Completely and utterly with you on that one. If I move to a Philippine country or to an Asian country, or even if I move to a Middle Eastern country for whatever reason, then I would assume that I would at least have to learn a local dialect, or at least a proportion of it, so I could interact with what's going on.
Yes.
I would presume to learn a little bit of their culture so I could interact and go down to their local meeting places so I can converse with people. Yes. Because as being humans, we need to be able to interact with people. The only way I can do that is by learning parts of their culture. No, I may not learn everything, but I need to learn enough to be able to interact. Yes. We're not doing that here. Nobody's doing that here. That's why you have these ghettos and settlements of where people are congregating. And the thing is, the governments of both left and right are forcing them to be less inclusive, less integrated. They are forcing these colonies and these little bit of settlements to actually occur. Yes, because they're putting them all together. They are saying that, okay, this Muslim lives here or this person lives here, we will put these together. And then it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And then that's when you have, I think it was around 45 to 60% of second generation immigrants that still don't speak English.
Don't speak English. Yes, I'm glad you got to that. So, and that, if you encourage that kind of thing, you have these enclaves where you can be born in Great Britain. And because people say, comments, they use this argument, Jason, to say, well, they're British. Are they British? If they were born in an enclave on British soil, never learned the customs, never learned the language, are they really British?
Not at that point, no. To be anything, any nationality, you actually have to learn the culture as well.
Yes.
You can't be born somewhere and then go, okay, well, I'm moving. It's like people were born in Turkey and then they move to England, or they're born in Lebanon and they move to America. They will then say that they are Lebanon American or American Lebanon, or they are English Turkish or Turkish English. But the thing is, they would always speak English. They would always speak the natural culture. They would know where to go, what to do, and they would classify themselves more as an American or more as where they live, because that's the culture they grew up in when they've integrated. They wouldn't say that, oh, I know more about Turkey than I do England, or more about Lebanon than I do about America. That's the difference of being able to say that you are a nationality, not just because you were born somewhere. If I was born in Ireland and I come across to England, does that mean I'm English or am I Irish? Me personally, I think that would make me more English because I would be grown up as English. That's where I'd get my passport from at the end of the day, wouldn't I?
Well, but it would also depend on what you're saying. Common sense. You would listen. I could come to England tomorrow. I wouldn't be English, but
no.
but in a decade,
Yes.
in a decade. If I lived there and you said that, hey, good weather, isn't it? And you know, you come to me and I am, for all intents and purposes, I've embraced the culture. I am now paying my taxes as an Englishman. I am living as a person can become British. That said, as with the point being made, I want to drive it home. Then if a person comes to Britain and refuses to assimilate, is in enclaves where they do not accept the society, do not learn, then that person never becomes British. I can say, as an American, we are a melting pot. We're a great melting pot. They like to throw it in our face how immigration made us great. No, immigration did not make us great. Assimilation made us great. Swallowing up cultures, and just like your country, you have chutney, and you eat. I mean, just like your country, where you have all these wonderful cultures blended in. We have the same thing. The famous restaurants around us are Italian and Mexican, and we have all of this melting pot. But guess what? Our most ardent Americans speak with an accent, but they came here legally and they became Americans, and they love America more than I do. Common sense. That's what we're missing. And then now it's now, isn't it a shame, common sense, that now we've got to the point where it's almost publicly shamed on you if you say, I'm proud to be British.
Yes, very much so. If I was to ever say that I was English, to actually go down an actual point, I've shown that off at a place that I used to work, and I used to work on a council collecting bins. And somebody asked me about that and goes, oh, are you part of the EDL? I said, no, I've never ever been part of the EDL, and I never would want to be. Next day, got called into the office as I was agency work, and I got told I will never be working at the council offices again. Because of
what if you were English Defence League? I mean, they have been berated so much. I can't say much common sense. I don't want anything to come back to bite us later. But I'm not going to defend. I'm not going to defend anybody.
Because it was only 3 years ago, and from 3 years ago, Tommy Robinson was not in charge of the EDL because it was too racist. It was the case of at that point it was changing. Yeah, it wasn't a good thing to be anywhere near the EDL.
But you lost a job because you had to flag King George on your arm.
Yes, that is literally it. Which is a good thing that I never saw that one, and they never saw that one.
Well, they would have hung you as well as fire you, huh?
That's the thing. I'm proud to be English, or at least I was proud to be English. The thing is, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I'm proud of the way that our heritage is, that we've took in countless refugees from countless wars. The fact that we are able to look after people, the way that we're accommodating to everybody, the way that we've been able to help everybody in the world, to the point of being such a small island, and yet we are the 5th to 6th biggest economy in the world.
And yet, island is.
Exactly. And yet it's a case of I'm not allowed to be proud of that. I'm not allowed to be proud of the fact that we've been able to help the world in certain aspects. The fact that we were able to end the idea of cattle slavery in every westernized civilization, that we helped end it, that we were the first country to end it.
Well, you brung light and civilization to Africa, to large chunks of Africa, to India. I mean, look at India now. They love cricket. In India, they love cricket more than you lot.
They do, yes. Especially Pakistan. Pakistan love fucking cricket more than we.
Man, there are places in India where the Indians are more English than Englishmen nowadays. Not you, common sense, but then your average Englishman.
Oh, I'd still say that I'm not the definition of English anyway. I'm still proud of being English, but I'm not what you would call a definition of English.
I don't know. I don't know. If you and the Britisher had a child, it would be the perfect Englishman.
As weird as that would be.
It would be just strong enough, and it would be just Britisher enough. You know what I mean? Sorry about that analogy, but I thought it was funny. And it's true. It's being robbed from you. And when I see an intelligent young man like yourself, when I think of Tailed Feature, when I think of Dankula, when I think of all of you young men, intelligent young British men, I ain't trying to be religious, common sense, but I meditate. I'll put it this way: I meditate on it every night, on your country and on your people. And I hope that somebody out there hears me.
See, I love that when people, not necessarily you, because I've had it on other people and other live streams as well, where people have gone, oh, I'm going to say this, but, people that don't like religion, it's just like, but that's the point of the secularism, the idea of secularism in itself. So what? I don't agree with your religion. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to say that you can't bloody say anything about it.
No, but I want to. Yeah, and I keep going there because I, you know, I'm a religious lot, and I try to keep it out. But the best thing for me to say is this: what I said. I meditate on you lot every night, and I think to myself, how can I help? And folks, as we go on to this last story, I want to tell you all how. Just give me a 1-minute comment. I want to tell you all how I've decided to help. I'm taking time. Common Sense has been working his fingers to the nubbin. He's the only one, to be honest, right now that's really working hard on the you know, writing down the thoughts and ideas. And I'm going to be putting time in that too, because I see this. What we can hold on to, folks, is the Liberal Britain Party. I'm not just saying this to be self-aggrandizing or to promote my brother. I'm saying this because in the last 2 years, the most reasonable ideas I have seen correlated in one place have been at the Liberal Britain Party. And we have to make a change here, folks. We don't need to or should. We have to make a change, or we have to see our world die. So as I meditate every night and on the things that I can do, I know that one of those things I can do is to support the Liberal Britain Party, support Common Sense guy, Jason Blackmore, in his endeavors. And in doing that, I'm supporting you, Britons. I'm supporting you. I'm supporting your country. So I just ask briefly as we move on to this last story here, I just implore you, you do it too. Take time to go by, check out the Liberal Britain Party YouTube page if you haven't yet, YouTube site. Listen to the ideas. And then I'm going to ask for Jason. And then after you listen to him, don't come and blow sunshine up his ass. Tell him how great he is. You can do that too. But come to him and tell him where you have an idea and where you think something may help. That's what my brother wants. That's what he's been working himself to a frazzle, sometimes with headaches and back pain and working through that. That's what he's been doing here the last year. So I just ask you to join us, Liberal Britain Party for life.
Thank you very much for that, Arian. I appreciate that a lot. This is literally going to be the last story. It is 2 minutes past 11. We have gone past the 2-hour mark, but we are going to finish this off. We're not going to digest too much. But yeah, that'll do. I said digest, but I don't mean that word. But we're going to just stick to this very, very quickly and just go through a couple of little stats. So this is, remember, done by Sky Poll as well. So the Sky Stat Poll. So this is probably quite a leftist sample. I'm not saying it is, but generally most people that do listen to Sky generally are on a leftist idea. So let's see what they actually have put down for. Should the Queen meet Trump? And from Sky Poll itself, 60% say yes, that Donald Trump should meet the Queen, and 34% have said no.
Boo.
So, yeah, so when the BBC and when the Sky say that there are millions of people that don't want to see Donald Trump meet the Queen or come across and stay here, by Sky's own poll, the majority, by a heavily margin, I'll get there, too much alcohol, a heavy margin is 60%. 60% of people would say that they would want to see Donald Trump meet the Queen. 60%. Yes. Underneath you have a little bit of a, but underneath you have a little bit that says 51% of Britons think Mr. Trump was right to make his views on Brexit public, while 45% think he should have kept them private. 4% did not know, but 51% again say that the US president is untrustworthy to negotiate a trade deal, including 38% who say he is very untrustworthy. Some 44% think he is trustworthy, with 4% unsure.
They had to throw that in there, didn't they?
They did, but I think that the actual figures are actually a little bit different, and we'll get to the bottom bit where they actually change the figures a little bit. So we expect to try and doctor him a little bit, but we'll see. Was Trump right to make his views public on Brexit? 51 to 45. So again, majority say, and it's still a heavy majority, 51% to 45% say that he should have done. So that was pretty good. Is Trump trustworthy to negotiate a trade deal? 44% say yes, and 51% say no. Okay, fair enough. It's a heavy-ish percentage to say that he shouldn't. But then again, he's not our prime minister, is he? But I think this is quite interesting. The figures were revealed after Mr. Trump criticised Theresa May's Brexit plans in an interview with the Sun newspaper, saying they would kill any chance of trade deal with the US. Interestingly, older people were more likely to think Mr. Trump was wrong to express his opinions on Brexit, but younger people are more likely to think that Britain would be unwise to trust him in trade negotiations. I think that's quite interesting. But it gets better.
The most interesting thing, their common sense, is they said they would kill any chance of a trade deal with the US. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Pretty close-minded, isn't it?
It is. It's very, very close-minded. But then again, these are young people that voted to unanimously, apparently, vote to leave. So
unanimously, yes. Carry on, yes. I get it.
Younger voters, 18 to 34-year-olds, backed Trump, publicising his views on Brexit by 54 to 40%. It's a good thing that at least young people still, by a margin, still believe in the idea of freedom of expression. So, yay to the youth? Kind of. Compared with opposition by 51% to 46% of those aged 55 and older. Which, again, I find very interesting that older people would be of the point of saying, he shouldn't have said anything, I find that kind of interesting, to be fair. I find that very interesting, to be fair. But older voters who voted for Brexit in far greater numbers than their juniors are much likely to say Mr. Trump could be trusted. So remember that. Older people will say that he would be trusted. 51% of people aged 55 and over considered Mr. Trump trustworthy. And obviously why 62% of 18 to 34s think that he's not to be trusted. Funny, weird ways of wording that question, and interesting how 62% of people that would have been polled would be that. What about the middle ground? Where's the middle ground? That's what I would like to know.
Doesn't look like there is any. They don't know. The middle ground don't know.
Apparently so. 6 in 10 Britons, 60%, think the Queen should meet Donald Trump. So, as we said at the beginning of this, nice and quickly, the whole idea of the protest in London, of saying that Donald Trump shouldn't be here, 60% of the people that watch Sky say that Donald Trump should come here and should meet the Queen. In other words, why the hell are you protesting?
Oh, that's a good question.
Why he's in the UK as he is scheduled to, why 34% think he should not, and 6% are unsure. So, yeah, that's kind of the end of the question, end of the story. I do find it very, very interesting how the age graphics are completely different. Again, it's very interesting when you look at the age graphics on Brexit, and when they say unanimously how the youth have voted, particularly for a particular set of ideas, it wasn't unanimously, because around about, I think it was around about 40% of youth actually voted. I think it was that. I don't think that many people went from 18 to 34 actually voted. A lot more afterwards did, but I don't have my figures in front of me, so unfortunately I can't say quote me on it. But I would say challenge me on it if you want. With that being said, though, I think it's a case of last words, Mr. Rogan, if you wouldn't mind going first, unless you have anything to say on this first.
Nope. I'm really glad you covered that story, but now we've imposed on our viewers long enough. We've weeded out the weaklings, and the faithful few are yet with us, but I think they might be growing weary. Don't blame you. We've gone for a nice 2 hours here, and I just want to say a couple things. The first thing is, be strong in your heart. Be strong in your soul. Don't allow the mainstream media, your leftist friend at work, some lads at the pub convince you that there's something wrong with being British. Don't let them convince you there's something wrong with being American. There's not. Not only is it not racist to be either one of a member of either one of these great nations, it is inclusive. Diversity is our strength, but diversity that has joined hands in the warm embrace of brotherhood in our countries, not those that would come here and sow seeds of discontentment in the name of diversity. That lot we shun. We do not accept them in this warm embrace. The next thing I want to say is, I've said it a couple times. I'm going to say it one more time. As this little bird that was constantly trying to ruin my ability to pay attention today, because it needs a lot of attention, is begging me to remind you. Because your country is now an anathema, apparently, because our country is now an anathema, apparently, we can say that they are the underdogs. We can say that they are the needy little chickens. Take time. It's Friday. Take time this weekend while you're out partying, while you're out having a good time. Take time this weekend to remember who you are, ye Britons. Remember who you are, you Americans. Don't allow the fog, the social malaise, the social psychosis, if you will, to invade normal thought function and have you question what you are. You, my brothers and sisters, are great Britons. You're great Americans. You do not need to be ashamed of being those things. You're not racist. You're not homophobic. You're not xenophobic. You're inclusive. You're caring. You're kind. I ask you this weekend to remember that and to show some small act of kindness for someone or something that doesn't deserve it, and be good to your friends and family members, because before you know it, it'll be gone.
Thank you very much for that, Ogre. And I do implore everybody to actually go and watch Ogre's latest 2 videos about his chicken there, and actually so he can actually explain in the videos what the story is behind it. Because I think it's a very pungent note. The fact is that to show an animal that you would generally eat, and most people generally would, but to show that animal love and affection, to show it some empathy, to be able to nurse it back to life when you didn't have to, it shows a level of humanity that I think that a lot of people, even though some people would say that Ogre's Ogre, Ogre's an ogre for a reason, but it shows a level of humanity in general. The fact that we have lost that. We have lost that ability to empathize with other people, to be able to understand their position, to understand where they are coming from. We're so dead set against the other person that it's almost a fight. And hence the reason why the left in themselves, especially Antifa, obviously, can go from the idea of what we suggested before, the mass psychosis, or as we agreed upon, the social psychosis of being able to say that they're fighting Nazis everywhere, they're fighting fascists everywhere. To be able to come to that sort of denotation, to be able to find that, connotation of what's going on is frankly ridiculous. We wouldn't go around saying that Antifa are everywhere. We wouldn't go around saying that feminists are everywhere. But yet people are saying that there are Nazis everywhere, that there are fascists everywhere. And if you don't agree with me, you're this, you're that. Now, I don't know if the Americans know this, but we were playing in the FIFA World Cup recently. Now, I have never seen so many people from so many different backgrounds, from so many different nations coming together to be able to follow the idea of a football game or a soccer game for Americans. And the fact is that so many people were turning so patriotic and so at the point of, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what the game is or anything else like that. It was the point of, we were all English. We were all English. And I think once you actually have something that you can believe in, That's the point when people will start believing in the idea of being treated equally again. I think the idea that the left have done is take away the point of not being able to be English or British in general. And once you take away a sense of a nationalism or a sense of a banner to be able to hide under or fall under, it's a case of you've lost the identity that you were. You are then forced to look for another identity. And if you have the left ideology that's around, you are forced to fall under that identity because you are looking for one. Some people, not everyone, but some people. But when you have something like the World Cup or something that you can be proud in again, people forget the politics and they go straight right back to thinking, we are English. This is England. We are forever and we will be forever. And with that being said, thank you very much. And I'll speak to you all again real soon. So bye-bye.